it's their slice of heaven.
When you get out here, it just kind of, everything just drains away from you, and it's quiet and peaceful.
But with giant wind turbines now looming nearby, this Oregon couple fears the rapid move to clean energy will come at the expense of their health. Wind energy is the latest rage in going green these days. More of it is even required by law.
But new research says people living next to wind farms could be the unintended victims of good intentions. It's called wind turbine syndrome. On your side, investigator Dan Tilkin brings us the information governments and the wind industry don't want to consider.
We want to be clear, we're not saying that wind energy is bad. Not at all. But it's important to consider unforeseen consequences, even with things that have so much benefit for society. Along historic Highway 74.
It looks like something prehistoric, something in the movies.
Along the Oregon Trail.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mike and Sherry Eaton used to count their blessings.
21 or 22 windmills.
Now they count the wind turbines bordering their 10-acre farm.
I pulled in the driveway after they started putting the towers up. There they are. I was just flabbergasted.
But the view is not the half of it.
What's your health concerns?
My health concern is because I have a motion disorder that the research that we've been researching has a possibility linked to having problems with that. In other words, I don't know what it'll do to me, to be honest with you, and I don't want to be the guinea pig to find out.
Well, Mike was an artilleryman in Vietnam, and the blast did damage to his inner ear. He suffers from debilitating vertigo, like he's seasick, and certain noises set it off. Well, that's why this soon-to-be-published book has them so alarmed. Wind turbine syndrome, a report on a natural experiment. It's the work of New York physician and ecologist Dr. Nina Pierpont. She began seeing patients in her clinic suffering from a debilitating complex of symptoms that include sleep disturbance, headache, dizziness, vertigo, nausea, even panic episodes associated with sensations of internal pulsation or quivering, which arise while awake or asleep. These patients all live near a new wind farm.
I'm an expert in disorders of the inner ear.
Dr. Owen Black is one of the experts asked to critique the research in the book. He's the director of neurotology research for the Legacy Research and Technology Center in Portland.
Judging from the studies done particularly by the Navy on low-frequency sound pressure levels, and given the symptom patterns that are described here, I definitely think it needs to be investigated. What the cause is, I have no idea.
Dr. Pierpont's hypothesis says wind turbines produce vibration and low-frequency noise. And their moving shadows create visual stimulation, known as flicker. All things that can affect the body, especially if you're someone with a pre-existing migraine disorder, motion sensitivity.
It does happen.
This area is very difficult because very, very few people have expertise in the areas that need to be studied.
Dr. Black says proving wind turbine syndrome would require a comprehensive, very expensive study. Meanwhile, the Eatons keep an eye on the nearest wind turbines within a half-mile of their home. This book says there should be a buffer of at least 1.25 miles, maybe more, to protect the public.
It's sickening. It's like in the pit of your stomach, your whole life's going to change. And you have no control over it.
So far, health concerns have not been part of the permitting process for wind farms in the Northwest. In fact, the state of Oregon touts it has adopted an expedited siting process for wind farms. To learn more about wind turbine syndrome, head to KATU.com. You click the Inside K2 tab, and you'll find a hot.
A school teacher hasn't had a good night's sleep since wind turbines came online near her Ripley area home 17 months ago.
Until we know exactly what's caused the problems, and these problems have been fixed in the turbine projects up to this point, and they should not build another one out there.
Dr. Robert McMurtry couldn't agree more. He's been following the very rapid wind energy expansion across the province.
There are lives being put in harm's way. There's no question in my mind about that.
McMurtry is the former Dean of Medicine at the University of Western Ontario and is currently an orthopedic consultant. For months now, he's been studying the medical reports of people who say the turbines are making them sick.
Apart from that, I just was called by another person today whose heart arrhythmia, something called atrial fibrillation, goes out of control when she's near the wind turbines.
That sounds a lot like what happened to Sandy McLeod this February when she had to go to the hospital with heart attack symptoms, something she blames on the turbines.
We're having a lot of trouble, and we would like it to be over.
So too would Glenn and Brenda Wilds. They've left their home amongst the turbines for the relative calm of a townhouse in Kincardine. They're happy and healthy here, but the headaches they got at their old home were simply driving them crazy.
I don't really think I could live in there anymore.
But they did the test for the bats, they did the test for the birds, but I don't think they did any study for the humans. And it's very hard to get people convinced to believe us.
Near Ripley, Scott Miller, A News.
But on Monday night, when she was rushed to the emergency room with a massive earache, Kiara was not happy or healthy.
We took her out because she was digging at her ears and screaming, waking up in the night screaming.
Melissa says Kiara only gets earaches when she's at home, which is in the middle of a 38 wind turbine farm near Ripley. And they only started when the turbines went up 17 months ago. Since then, Kiara has been rushed to the ER 10 times. An emergency room doctor ruled out an ear infection during Monday's most recent ER visit.
When she goes out of the house, she goes to Chatham, which has been in Kincardine for the last 2 nights. There's no problem. She sleeps.
After some prodding from Ken, the wind company that owns these turbines has put the family up in a motel until Saturday, even though they don't think their machines are causing a problem. Neither does the local health unit. But this man does. Dr. Robert McMurtry is the former Dean of Medicine at the University of Western Ontario.
There are lives being put in harm's way. There's no question in my mind about that.
McMurtry is in Toronto as he readies to testify at public hearings into Ontario's new Green Energy Act, legislation that would see another 500 turbines built in the province by 2012. The wind industry likes that kind of growth and don't believe they are putting anyone's health at risk.
So far, all of those studies that have been peer-reviewed have really come to the same conclusion, and that is that there's no evidence that wind turbines have an impact on human health.
McMurtry, who currently works as an orthopedic consultant at St. Joe's Hospital in London, says he knows of at least 53 people in Ontario who are complaining of health problems associated with these industrial wind farms. He's calling for a moratorium on wind farms until a proper health study can be completed. In Bruce County, Scott Miller, A News.
How many what?
How many feet high are they?
They're 50 metres, yeah, about that. 140 I'd say.